One Piece has a lot of ships, big ones, small ones and controversial ones, but of course the best ones are the nautical ones, so jump aboard as we rank the best ships in One Piece. Also, this video is a special Patreon request from my longtime patron and friend, Rinjack9696. Hope you enjoy it, my friend. What discussion on One Piece ships doesn't start with the first ship of the Straw Hat crew, the Going Merry? Now, it may not be the most threatening, large or impressive of ships, but that is where the beauty of this vessel comes into the picture. As well, what are the Straw Hats at the start of the series? Nobody's. They aren't impressive in the grand scheme of things, they don't have a large fleet like Don Krieg, nor a reputation like the enemies they fight across the early parts of the story. They aren't taken seriously, hence why their ship on first appearance doesn't seem particularly serious either. It's almost silly, and not something people would expect of the ship of the next Pirate King. And isn't that perfect? As if one thing sums up Luffy, it's silly. I mean, Gear 5th is a testament to that fact. The Going Merry is just great, and so of course is landing up in A tier. Baratier is both a ship and a restaurant, so it gets points for uniqueness alone. The fish theming is quite nice, since it's a restaurant on the water that serves the fish of the water, so let's just give it a nice B. Hitsuge Bune, or literally Coffin Ship, is the mighty vessel of the Warlord of the Sea, Dracul Mihawk. The fact it doesn't even have a proper name is so fitting of Mihawk, one of the most no-nonsense characters in the series. The fact it's so small and only seats one also fits his owner so well, since he is a lone wolf without a crew. Well, at least when he didn't used to have a crew. So this ship is the perfect way to get across that he is strong enough to survive even in the Grand Line, all on his own. It's a perfect contrast to Don Krieg, who had a whole fleet yet was decimated by Mihawk and his ship for one, which is one of the greatest ways Oda foreshadows how high the ceiling goes in the series, and such an amazing moment for hyping up what it means to be a pirate in the New World. The fact is, a coffin also ties nicely into Mihawk's Dracula inspiration and also paints an image that death follows this man, be it during his days as the Marine Hunter, or when he left a whole fleet destroyed for the crime of running into him. This boat just captures so much about what makes Mihawk Mihawk, though I do wonder if he goes under the red line in this when travelling to and from the New World. The image of that is quite funny to me. And well, since it's Mihawk, automatically S tier. Going from one of the greatest antagonists yet to come in the story to one of the greatest who has already come, we have Enel's Maxim. This is such a fitting vessel for Enel, the self-proclaimed god. It can fly, the first ship of that kind we've seen in the series, putting it above all others we'd seen, quite literally. The fact it is also powered by Enel's own power is also fitting, because a god makes the world go round. Without Enel present, it does not function, and well, it's a miraculous ship in a lot of ways. Hence, to give a ship flight is a miracle that must be bestowed by a god. Another awesome reference is how it may be named after the Circus Maximus, an ancient Roman chariot racing stadium which was east of the temple of Sumanius, the god of nocturnal thunder. Very fitting indeed. And since Enel is great and Skypiea ends with an A, let's give this an A. The Sabre of Xebec is hardly even a ship, it's more like a giant ass raft, and as such it's perfect for Blackbeard. After all, he is the dark inverse of Luffy, who doesn't care about the means, who will do anything to reach his goals. He doesn't trust his crew, and they would probably backstab him at any time, and that's why his ship, being the most basic and lacking in character of every ship in the series, is so fitting. As the Straw Hats consider their ships members of their crew themselves, they care for them. The Going Merry even developed its own personality, as it was more than just a piece of floating wood. However, that is exactly what the Sabre of Xebec is, because Blackbeard cares not for his ship, no love is given to it, hence it remains as nothing but a piece of floating wood in the most literal of senses. Also, his whole fleet is identical to the Xebec, showing how, like everything to Blackbeard, it's just a disposable tool that can be replaced at any time. Such a fitting ship, and for that I'm putting this in S tier. Thriller Bark is a floating island that somehow not only got over Reverse Mountain, but also under Fishman Island. Whoever quoted that deserves a raise. The fact the ship is so large and yet only filled with the dead really gels well with the tragic nature of Moria, one who lost all his crew and now surrounded only by the dead. The vastness of his ship only hammering home the loneliness he feels. It's also pretty spooky, so let's say C. The Red Force is great, I even have this model of it. The Viking aesthetic matches well to Shanks given his Nordic inspirations and its relevance to the Elbaf arc, but there isn't really much more going for it, so let's give it a B. The Numancia Flamingo is literally just a flamingo, so obviously S tier, but the fact it is just a flamingo is also quite fitting for Doflamingo. As a celestial dragon, he sees himself above everyone, and further, that everything should revolve around him, hence why his ship is a literal flamingo, since he is Doflamingo. The Polar Tang is a submarine, so not really a ship, but it does fit with Law and his crew quite well, as in they are weak and don't fit in the same straightforward way as most pirates. Instead they use plans and schemes, hence why their ship operates unseen underwater, perfect for not direct engagements. Now I would love to give this a D tier for being Law's ship, but it could be a Beatles reference, you know, Yellow Submarine, so I can't go any lower than a C. The big top is what you'd expect a buggy ship, so buggy tier. The Aura Jackson was the ship of the Pirate King, so it needs some respect. It was also made by Tom, so again, big respect. But nothing about it really screams anything Goldie Roger to me, but there is a giant egg, and that's pretty cool, as long as Luffy doesn't come out of it, and if you've never heard that theory, look it up, it's hilarious, so A tier. The Victoria Punk can rest in pieces, but I must say I think it's a pretty swell ship. It's very punk rock, almost like a music stage, very fitting for the punk / metal theming of the Kid Pirates. Though I personally would have liked it a bit more if it seemed a little more ramshackled, it seems pretty well built, whereas Kid himself is all about, you know, cobbling trash together. Though that does bring up a fun way Kid could survive his thrashing by Shanks, since he could pull the remains of the Victoria Punk back together, at least the metal bits, to create a new ship. I'm calling it now that will happen, but since it is Kid, let's go C tier. The Striker is kick-ass, and even if you're not a big Ace fan, I'm not either, don't worry, you can't ignore how cool this ship is. Like the Maxim, it is powered by its user's Devil Fruit, quite fitting for Ace, who defied his captain orders and set out to stop Blackbeard on his own. He did it off his own volition, hence his ship is powered by him alone. And well, it's kick-ass, so nice solid A. What's even more solid though is his old man's ship. The Moby Dick is staggering and majestic, a giant whale of a ship that dwarfs the other ships around it. It matches the stature of its captain both in physical appearance and reputation. Out of respect to the world's strongest man, gonna have to put this one in S tier. And lastly is of course the Thousand Sunny, a symbol of the dawn with its figurehead being a literal sun. Could there be a better ship for the man who will bring the dawn? There's no question here, easily S tier, though I feel I am forgetting a certain battleship. A colossal battleship if you will. S tier is for San Juan Wolf.